Jumbo Africa.
Well, the sound is called Jumbo Africa. We welcome you yet to another edition of African Football Connect. As we continue with this African football discussion, plenty to talk about today. The Champions League, the CAF Confed. Will it be a South African versus Egypt affair in the Champions League, or it will be a different thing altogether? But also, Rulani Mokwena, is he staying, is he going in Morocco with Wydad? We have also seen some of the teams that have qualified to the AFCON Under-17 quarterfinals, but also going to the FIFA Under-17 World Cup. And a lot of issues that we've been talking about. And the team keeps on growing and expanding. Mm-hmm. We have another debutant today. But from last week, the combo is here. When we finished here, I'm surprised Zizo, Greg and Sosos, they are still like this. Hey, I think okay, when we make substitutions, because last week I was afraid. Yeah, but just to reflect.
And before you continue, I hope the substitution is not the debutant.
The debutant.
I hope you can play.
Yeah.
Box player.
No. What I like is that so whether it's journalists, whether it's footballers, we bring international
quality.
People who've used their passport more. If you are not using your passport, you don't deserve it.
Passport within a month. Within a month, passport
Yeah. But what can you say about the African football just the past week?
Yeah, it's been eventful. Under-17 is continuing. AFCON, top football. Obviously, our boys are through, which is good. Greg this one you must say.
Because the Nigerians don't they? We're talking stuff now.
No. I'll use the other passport.
There's no reverse.
I'll use the other passport. I'll use the South African passport now.
There's no Rivers United. Do you still have Shooting Stars?
Yeah, Shooting Stars. Yeah.
There's no Enyimba. There's no Under-17. We'll get to that one. I don't know.
I told you last week.
Maybe the MRI dealt with you. I don't know.
No. They didn't just qualify. They didn't qualify.
There's been a lot happening. As we say, AFCON Under-17 Champions League. I guess we'll talk more about it.
Right.
Domestic leagues around all over the continent. So it's been quite busy. Got a lot to cover today.
We also have some very interesting news. Remember last week we were supposed to talk about the Zambian situation.
Yeah.
And when you have a situation where the federation is just fighting with the government, but then you have got FIFA on the side of the federation. But now I've since learned there's even issues in Sierra Leone. Oh. There's issues even in Guinea Conakry. Someone who was just elected last year, already there are questions around him about forgery and bribery. Football on the continent,
But I think it's a sickness of Africans, of not doing due diligence in their selections. There's always brown envelopes that are flying all over, it distorts the game. And distorting in the game in that way, we're seeing lesser progressive things that needs to happen because we trust in these people to actually to handle the matters in a professional sense so then our leagues can grow.
And also what is even more disappointing, when all this nonsense is happening, nobody cares about the footballers.
Yeah.
The people who we are all here for. Footballers suffer because of the nonsense that is happening in the boardrooms. And we need to get to a point where officials really, every decision they take with the footballer in mind.
Yes.
Certainly. But one point I want us to zoom in now because since their loss in the cup, the Throne Cup that they were playing this past weekend, so a lot of issues have came out of Wydad Casablanca. We know that Rulani Mokwena, the biggest mandate for him was to return this team to the Champions League. He arrived there, the team was outside the Champions League. So now he's out of that cup, and apparently that cup, the Throne Cup, was the only remaining silverware that they could claim so far this season. But there's been a developing story that he's going to be chucked out. But yesterday things changed, and now there's even new developments. My colleague Mazola wrote a story that he has not been paid for 8 months. But I understand that it's something that you've been following.
Yeah, I think this story is very bizarre. Firstly, the one camp says they've not been paid for 8 months, which is also a little bit odd that you can work for a company without being paid for 8 months. Then there are murmurings that the club is disputing that they haven't paid. That is not true, which clearly means that someone between the two is not talking the truth. It's something that, if it's true, he has not been paid for 8 months. Firstly, that's completely unacceptable. In a professional environment, you don't expect people to be working without being paid. I mean, that's not right. And also, if you look at the conditions under which coach has been working on, he's been incessantly under a lot of pressure from the fans and from the former players and all that kind of thing. The season is not over yet. There is still a possibility he may qualify for the Champions League. I think it's only 2-3 points between him and the second place team. So there's still a bit of a lot to play for in the remaining match of the season. If they don't want the coach, then they must just tell him that he must go. But it will be sad for the coach to leave, because I think he went for Wydad because he wanted to go coach at the Club World Cup, and if he doesn't get there, it will really be a shame. But a lot of stuff I'm sure it will come out over the next few days as to actually what is happening there. But it's not a good thing. You can imagine how it's affecting the players behind the scenes, and also the coach is not alone there. He's got a team of South Africans who are with him there, and also that can affect them if they have not been paid for 8 months. Really, it's something that surely is not good.
Welcome to African Football Connect, a podcast where we're looking at some important developments in African football. I know that at Radio Mas, you've been following the story around Wydad Casablanca and Rulani Mokwena. A lot was said here in South Africa today, and also with reports about him going unpaid in his salaries, and also part of his staff members for 8 months. But we've been in communication since early today, and you wanted to correct this issue. But I understand that there have been a lot of developments. So what is the latest now?
So, the coach Rulani Mokwena have many matches, don't have a good result with Wydad Casablanca. So the support, and when he started the season with Wydad Casablanca, every support Wydad Casablanca is happy, because now Rulani Mokwena, his performance with Masandawana or Mamelodi Sundowns, he is the profile with the supporter with Wydad Casablanca dream have like this coach. First thing, he have not a great result in the start, because we know in the team with the Casablanca have many change, many player left the Wydad Casablanca. So the supporters want push Rulani Mokwena, help him and his staff to go well with the team. The president Hisham have realized many things for like logistic things, the espace, what I'm saying, to create the atmosphere. We can Rulani Mokwena work surely and have a great team. But and the last time in the Cup of the Throne, and for the champion, the RSB is the champion. We have 5 match for the last season, but Wydad Casablanca can play for the champion. But Rulani Mokwena have a chance to return with Wydad Casablanca in the Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
We have many teams in the championship in Morocco want the second place with RSB.
Correct.
So Rulani Mokwena, I don't know. It is the same in championship in SA, like Kaiser Chiefs, Mamelodi Sundowns, Orlando Pirates. But in Morocco, we have like 5 teams, he have the same dream to play for the second place in the player the next time or next season to Champions League. So it's very hard for Rulani Mokwena. The president, after the last match in the Cup, he won a meeting with Rulani Mokwena, and this morning we listen Rulani Mokwena and his staff now have the salary in the last 8 months, like some your support talk about this news. So we have opportunity to talk with agent of Rulani Mokwena this morning. So he say the president with Casablanca, he have pay every month for the Rulani Mokwena and his star. The last February he have the money. Rulani Mokwena, he can finish this season with Wydad Casablanca. He can finish this Wydad Casablanca because he have just 5 matches and the derby against Raja Casablanca. After this weekend, yeah. So after we can meeting another time, and we can I don't know. It's depend about the result. Maybe Wydad Casablanca do better in this last 5 match.
So if he qualifies the team, they finish number 2, they go to the Champions League, does he stay or he still goes?
The manager or the agent of Rulani Mokwena, he talk the president and Rulani Mokwena is okay about the 5 match, complete the season, win or lost the match. Rulani Mokwena left Wydad Casablanca.
So win or lose the 5 matches, he's still going.
But let me complete. But I have some information. Rulani Mokwena, his objective with Wydad Casablanca, the first meeting, is to qualify Wydad Casablanca in Champions League. So when Rulani Mokwena win the last 5 match, so the president, he need to search, how can I say, to reset the complete with the Rulani Mokwena or let me out. I don't know.
When you look at it, I think he's gone 4 matches, 4 draws in the league now. What is the problem? Why is the team struggling to win?
I don't know. Really, like me, a journalist, I have a chance to visit Pretoria 7 times, and the big matches, Pizzo Mosimani against Wydad Casablanca, the semifinal. You know what I'm saying? It was really very crazy, very crazy between Mamelodi Sundowns and Wydad Casablanca. Yeah. It's very, and the supporter with Mamelodi Sundowns is very passion with him, with his team. But Rulani Mokwena, I think he can adapt with the coach. Yes, he need have many information about the coaching, about the players, but I think the new how can I say, the new opportunity and new experience. He need the adaptation in this new culture in North Africa. It's not the South Africa. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
Are you saying that in terms of the football that is played?
Yeah. The first time we talk, Wydad Casablanca have some difficulty to practice the football. Rulani Mokwena want to stay in the pitch, but I see in the first talk, Wydad Casablanca changed many players. Many players left Wydad Casablanca. You remember Ayoub Al-Amloud when he got the second goal in the semi-final Champions League 2023. The captain Yahya Jabran, Yahya Atiyatullah in Al-Ahli, the goalkeeper, the midfielder, many players, like 19% player, he's left with Casablanca. So Rulani Mokwena now is not easy in Wydad Casablanca. So I think Rulani Mokwena, I wish Rulani Mokwena come in Wydad Casablanca with like 70% with the last team in last time, you know.
So what did the agent, Steve Kapelushnik, say about the issue of salaries that Rulani and his team have not been paid? What did the agent say about it?
He talked about in February, the staff and Rulani Mokwena, everything is okay.
Okay.
Everything, it's okay. But he talked about why Rulani Mokwena in the last match, the relationship with the president and the supporter is not is not good. So the
After
agent
the Throne Cup.
after.
Mm-hmm.
So because Rulani Mokwena after the match when he lost 1-0 in the Coupe de Tron, he talked in a conference of press. It's the first match I feel sad because I don't know we can change the player or change the mentality or change the coach. You know what I'm saying? So the president and the supporter is feel like Rulani Mokwena has nothing to do, nothing to give in team and over. Yeah, it's over, game over. But every time the president he want save Rulani Mokwena.
Also, one of Rulani Mokwena's big dream was to coach Wydad in the FIFA Club World Cup. So now, after those 5 matches, it means that he will leave before the FIFA Club World Cup.
Against Pep Guardiola.
Pep Guardiola, yes, in the FIFA Club World Cup. So does this mean now, after these 5 matches, he will leave Wydad before they go to the FIFA Club World Cup?
This is how talk the agent of Rulani Mokwena. The last meeting say Rulani Mokwena work with the Wydad Casablanca for the 5 last match. Maybe the thing change. Maybe the team can do better like the last matches. Maybe take the objective. The first objective is not to be a champion in Morocco, is to qualify. Is Wydad return in Champions League. You know, the supporter of Wydad Casablanca love this competition. So when Rulani Mokwena can do, I think the first can save Rulani Mokwena is the supporter.
So what you're telling me that for them to achieve that, it's very important that they win the derby this weekend against Raja. Because if they win against Raja, they improve their chances of finishing number 2.
Yes, because let me see, Wydad Casablanca and Raja Casablanca is not in the good time for Wydad or Raja.
Yes.
But the matches of the derby, this another match, another things, another competition. Like Mamelodi Sundowns, Orlando or Orlando Kaiser. So when you win this match, the atmosphere change.
Yes.
People can talk another language. Rulani can smile another time. You know what I'm saying? It's the football, brother. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important for Rulani Mokwena to win the last match. But the supporter, when he analyze this period, is very difficult for Rulani Mokwena and for the players, because it's the first time after this last match, Rulani Mokwena say, I'm sad about the players. It's not good.
Yeah, and just two more questions. Also, I see the last for this month, the player of the month was Thembinkosi Lodge, Christopher Lodge. What can you say about him? How has he been so far there?
Listen, Lors or Mailula is integrated quickly with the team. Mailula, I don't know, the last match is not titular, it's not lineup for Rulani Mokwena. It's some things, sometimes the supporter and like our journalists, we don't know why Rulani Mokwena do many change in the lineup. Why, Rulani? You can save the last 11 players, you can win the last match, can start with the same players. That's the big question have Rulani Mokwena, and every conference can talk. Lars is with the Bailula, the supporter is very happy about the performance. Lars is very famous. Is famous in the supporter of Wydad Casablanca. We know him when he play with the Mamelodi Sundowns and with the Bafana Bafana, like Mailula. I think his experience in Canada is not very good, but we feel Mailula want to help the team do big things in every match. So Lars or Mailula is very important today for Wydad Casablanca, for his team.
But how difficult is this, Greg? Because when you look at it, they had just beaten FUS Rabat 1-0 in that Throne Cup. But then they lost the next game. But if you look in the league, they've gone 4 matches without a win. It's been draws. And if you were to convert 1 or 2 of those draws, they would be comfortable in a Champions League spot.
I just feel, first of all, what he has done at Sundowns before he went to Wydad, you can see that he's a very good coach and he has contributed that at Sundowns, and going to Wydad is a different environment. But the other thing again, he brought 1 or 2 players that he asked for, and they gave him that player. And with teams like that, if they give you what you want, they will expect you to perform. And for the last 4 games, they haven't won and out of the cup. And now at the weekend, they're going to play derby against Raja. So, and both of them, they're just 3 points different, So if Raja win, they're going to be the same point, which is 40 points, and 4 games to go, and anything can happen. But at the same time, you can listen to his interview. I think there's a lot of things happening behind the scene that we can't really point our fingers on. When for a coach to say that other 3 things can happen, either the mentality of the players to improve, or some of the players need to go, or the coach need to go. So when your coach starts, emphasizing on those things, there's something behind the scene fishy. But we know all he's a very top coach, And 5 games to go now. I think if he can get that Champions League spot, it will be very important for him to continue there.
I don't want Greg to talk about this because he could have been part of this derby this weekend. Almost, just like this.
Differently. He was great, he was great at that time. With Siad, Raja approached him, for him to be their head coach, and Fadlu and Zimbabwe have done a marvelous job. And there was a lot of insight about Raja, but. Everything happened for a reason now. He's in better place, I think, in Algeria there. Yes. And, he could have been a great, addition to my CV.
You'll be calling us, hey, e-wallet, please. But, so, Rulani is not alone there. He's got a South African contingent in terms of his technical team.
Yes.
If it's true, as it alleged, that they've not been paid, so the burden, obviously, it falls on him that he must look after the guys he brought there.
Well, on my end, I think Rulani went he took this job, or took this task, knowing very well what might be the outcomes. For me, I'm seeing a person that actually took this bull head on, and knowing of the consequences and the repercussions to what may come. So I think Rulani has not really put the money ahead of him, but what he wanted to achieve as an objective as a coach, which is get in there and then wanting to be on the Club World Cup. And again, for me, my biggest disappointment is with Wydad. From where they were and where they are right now. For me, I don't get it. It's 11 wins, 10 draws. All right, 11 wins, 10 draws.
With all their challenges.
With all their challenges. And he has built a magnificent team.
Yeah.
So my issue is this. Somebody that's going to come in there is going to inherit all the good work that is done. Players now are starting to understand like how the coach wants them to play. And that takes time. It's unfortunate that, yes, when you go to a big club, they expect instant results.
Yeah.
But again, you got to look at the caliber and the quality that you have at hand, that you actually is on disposal. So the players that he has added is on the quick fix that he knows when he wheels those players, they can generate the conveyor belt. But it's only moving this conveyor belt because there's certain players now that are clicking to what he wants to do. And for me, having coaches on that side, you have your backing. Gentlemen, we're not in a foreign country and we're in a foreign state, so let us understand that this is our job. What's our objective and what's our goal? Our goal and objective is to make sure that we get this team to the summit or we get to the Club World Cup. This is now expanding into your CV.
Yeah. Now, this is more interesting for me, Zizo, because last week here, we were discussing the issues around our league and Royal AM. But these guys, when you look at what is happening in some of these leagues in North Africa, you then start to say, hey, the PSL is professional when it comes to these things. Because I'm told that Wydad is owing $2 million USD to former players and coaches. That's close to 40 million rands that they are owing. And I think they have just returned again to a FIFA ban. They had a FIFA ban, and then they cleared it to register new players. And they've just returned to a FIFA ban again. So you see the challenges here.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate. I mean, I just don't know what's happening in the Arab world there. I mean, we know we had the situation with Coach Pizzo also coming back, not having been paid, and I think, you know, taking some of the cases to FIFA and all those kinds of things. Professionalism must be there, man. I mean, most of the stuff that we hear coming, especially out of North Africa and in Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all those places, some of these things are not good. And it's very strange because generally, or most of the time, those teams are owned by wealthy people. But you know, if wealthy people are behaving like this, it really boggles the mind as to, is their hearts in the right place when it comes to football, or what's happening? We have had instances here in our own country where really wealthy people have mismanaged football clubs, and it goes back to the issue of the fit and proper stuff the leagues need to do when they allow these guys to come into football, because it turns the value of football. I mean, for people to go 8 months without being paid, really. Even as here we can gazette man and pay man. I mean, really.
But I'm told the Rulani settlement was good.
So it's still okay.
It's fine then. Okay, well, it's got a good buffer. Yeah, but I mean, on a serious note, really, it's not a bad look for the professionalism of the games.
Yeah.
That's why.
And contrary to what you've been told about Moroccan football.
Yes, that's why
because
I'm told now.
This is not the first time. Zimbabwe was also owed a lot of money.
Yeah,
you know,
it's not good.
And on Fadlu, and there's always these stories. I mean, in South Africa, you never have a situation.
No.
I can see the issue of Royal AM, but you never have a situation where Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates, or Sundowns. You hear about, you know. So it's
even
it's
rare.
a non-starter.
It's even rare at NFD.
Exactly.
Get paid on time.
Exactly. So for me, I think another important story here is that the former owner or the former president. In fact, there's no owner there. The president who were elected.
Yeah.
This guy Nasiri, he was arrested for dealing in drugs. And as soon as he was arrested, a lot of issues came up, and the situation around Wydad changed, and that's when they went boom, and couldn't even finish in this Champions League or even CAF Conference.
I was about to ask Mr. Matlou, are they rich or rich? Because there's different types of being rich. There's rich disposable income, and there's rich where you get that certain money, you patch there, and then they see you winning the club.
You know, it's very interesting. Let's hope they are rich.
When they still do things that you say, well, we can look at it in both sides.
Let me say,
Are they disrespecting our guys by not paying them?
No.
And what's the history behind?
No, that's-
as you just said now,
But-
they've been owing other people.
Zimbabwe German.
With that, before the Raja deal didn't go through, with Fadlu, the insight he gave Siad, it's about payment too, about payments, and he's gonna be like, they haven't paid them for about 3 months that time, But Siad, he was really want to go just to get a CV, right, and try to build his coaching career. He just didn't care about the money. Definitely you're gonna get paid, but not at the time you want it, So Raja to have that problem. So with Wydad, I'm not surprised. With Sundowns, what Rulani have done at Sundowns in terms of how they play, and we have the level it took Sundowns. Going to Wydad, they were expecting the same thing.
Guys.
I'm telling you, as a coach.
But the difference at Sundowns is good players.
That's what I'm
At the same time, the players he wanted at Wydad, he got.
Not all of them.
He got the ones.
But apparently one of the issues was that the quality of most of the players he got
Yes.
were not the quality.
Yes.
Understand? So
That is why.
But he's the one that wanted the players.
No, listen.
got-
he said
no.
Quality he got there.
The
The
one
one he
you-
wanted, he got. They are there. They are helping him.
But he didn't necessarily got the same talent.
Yes.
Yeah, that he
But some,
wanted.
they managed to meet halfway.
No, now you are giving us a makeshift.
They
step.
meet halfway.
No,
I want Lodge. Let's say come Lodge.
Lodge has just arrived.
Yeah, but,
and
I mean-
did you see he's just arrived and he's the player of the month?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
In fact,
but at the same time,
the two players who are player of the month in the last 2-3 months,
He's the one.
players-
Malula and
Yeah.
Exactly.
What we said earlier, we're talking about the level they are, the expectation at that side. It's different
Why
level.
should you
So
qualify
Okay,
them?
he's a top coach.
I think
He's a
we're going to make a quick sub, and then now I see you're getting into technicalities of the game. We're going to make a quick sub, and then when this new sub comes in, before we proceed, let's just touch on this issue so that me and Zizo, we write, we talk.
Let's get in the
let the
technocrats.
technicians, the technocrats, dissect this matter. But Zizo, we are going to deal with the CAF Champions League, but we are also going to deal with the CAF Confed. But one thing I can tell you that discussion is taking place at Orlando Stadium, just to dissect more on the progress of our teams from Rades, also in Cairo, and also Escotini. So that's the discussion that we're having from Orlando Stadium as we look back at how our teams have fared in the CAF Confed and also in the CAF Champions League. Well, we're here, African Football Connect, coming live from Orlando Stadium. I don't know, this gentleman, even if they were to give me their predictions when we started, but I know someone who got it wrong. But
You're not talking about
3 out of 4 teams that were competing in the CAF Inter-Club competitions are in the semi-finals in South African football. It's a new world order in as far as African football is concerned. But how are you looking at Zizo? I mean, Orlando Pirates through, Sundowns through, and also now Stellenbosch as well in the CAF Confed.
Yeah, I think I've already apologized to Pirates. I really didn't think that they would go as far as they've done. Obviously, at that time, my sort of concern was I felt they were a little bit thin when it come to continental experience.
Okay.
But, as you know, that anything can happen in football. So they proved me well and truly wrong, but they deserve to be here because they've done the business, flawless or near flawless group stages. They did the business and winning away in the first match or first leg of the knockout stages and coming home and finishing the job here. So good on them, and they'll definitely be a team to beat. I with what I know now, I really do think that there'll be a team that will go to the final. So good on them. I think they've done well.
Yeah, I mean, Shomuka, we've seen this 1995, 2001. We had another good moment in 2013 with Orlando Pirates in the semis as well. They were there. In fact, I think in 2006 they were also the last team to even have been there in that space. Sundowns, Orlando Pirates versus Al Ahly and Pyramids. It's Egypt versus South Africa.
I think it's a moment to be proud of in South African football. I mean, you remember those dark days when South Africa had one team in each competition,
yes.
Knocked out in the first round by a team from Botswana. With all due respect, we've come a long way, and we also had this very negative attitude towards continental football. We saw it as a waste of money or something to look down upon. But I think ever since we've embraced continental football, and Orlando Pirates have been one of the drivers in that. I mean, their run in 2013 really made South Africans fall in love with the Champions League and push. And I think it's befitting that we get them also at the forefront of this, unbeaten so far, and leading the way in a sense in terms of us going into an all South African final in the Champions League, because that's what is going to happen when you look at how they've been able to manage a situation like this. I mean, Pirates' performance in MCLJ and even Sundowns' performance in Esperance, those are games that South African teams lose because you have to work, you have to run, you have to suffer, and they suffered with dignity and then with strength. And I think that for me, forget the wins over Al Ahly and everything else. Those performances, those are the ones that makes me believe that these teams are going to be in the final.
It's interesting when you talk about Botswana because it's not just now that when Paris was knocked out by his running Galaxy, even way back, Gaborone United, way back before 2013 happened. But it's good to see what this has done to this team, because how they've responded to this competition this season, and in relation to the squad that they had as well. It talks to a very good plan of the pitch as well.
Yeah, I think when we were here a few years ago when Pirates lost to joining here, that was an embarrassing moment for not only for Pirates but for South African football. They went back, they fixed whatever needed to be fixed, and they came back strong. And the fact that they are here also, kudos must go to the coach, because to do well in the championship, you don't only need good players, but you also need a technical team that plans very well. People who do things well behind the scenes. And this Pirates guy has come here. He was ridiculed when he first got here, but he has proved that he's a very, very good coach. Somehow, because he's a nice guy, you almost feel that maybe he needs to leave Pirates with something big as the Champions League.
Yeah.
I know that you still have to work for it, but for the romantic story, it will be nice for the headlines and that kind of thing if he goes all the way and maybe win it. And I mean, obviously the Sundowns fans will kill me here, but if they go against Sundowns and they beat Sundowns in the final, it will be something, because the South Africans are hoping for an all.
In fact, one of the stories I've been talking about during the day is how the Iron Duke has in the past always had this dream of an all South African final, and we thought maybe in our lifetime it's not something that's going to happen, judging by. But now we are just 180 minutes away from it.
It's happening. I mean, we have to. Our passports are not going to be busy. I think because it's not just like being wishful thinking. It's also look at what drives these two teams. I mean, for Pirates, this is the 30th anniversary of that 1995 success. It's wanting to ensure that Rivero lives on a high. And at Sundowns, it's the pressure. I mean, they've been to the semifinals, knocked out twice in the last competition, and they've brought in a coach who's been there, who knows what it takes to take the team to the final, and he's shown that in terms of, and he's brought something that Sundowns lacked. Being able to be pragmatic. Sundowns were too obsessed about wanting to play well and look good. and not disrespect to Sundowns, but if you only have one Champions League title, that should not be your priority. The priority should be to get a second, get a third, because teams like Esperance, like Alali, whose crests are littered with stars, don't worry about that. They worry about getting to the final. And no one remembers the performance. Even now, there are very few performances of Alali in the Champions League or even in the final that you remember, but they have 12 stars. And I think that pragmatism that is brought is the missing ingredient, because they've got the experience, they've got the talent, they've got the know-how, and they're able to handle these conditions. That's why in May we're going to be probably definitely talking about an all South African
FNB and Loftus, but I was also saying that it will be important, especially for Sundowns, probably to go to the expanded FIFA Club World Cup as African champions.
Yeah, it will be great, but they still have to negotiate around Al-Ahly, which is not an easy thing to do. Al-Ahly, I think because of reputation, experience, and to a large extent maybe the experience of the players that they have, they just know how to play knockout football. Al-Ahly can be lousy in the group stages, but when you find them in the quarterfinal, semi-final, in the final, they'll probably beat you. So it's one thing which Sundowns will be in the back of their minds. I hope that because Sundowns, as Flomugas mentioned, they've lost in the semi-final for the last two seasons. They will have to get over that mental block, go to a critical semi-final match and win, then go to a final, because also for the investment that the Motsepe family has done into that club, to have won or to have won one title since 2016, it borders on unacceptable.
The story of Stelli's first time ever in CAF Inter-Club competition, semi-final, beating Zamalek, defending champions. I mean, if you look at the results that they got against RS Berkane, and to see Stelli's where they are now.
I think the story of Stellenbosch shows the story of South African football, in that with heart and taking this competition seriously, we've got the talent. I mean, a team that has never played continental football, going as far as they've done on their first attempt, is a remarkable story. But what is key is that from the first day when they qualified, they took this on a positive note. They wanted to improve, they wanted to learn. It's something that they kept on saying. And when you look at the plan that the club has had, they've always had this gradual progress, and they've not wanting to take 10 steps. They've always wanted to go one by one. And I think that shows, because the talent is there. And also, when you have continuity, I mean, Steve Barker is the longest serving coach in the PSL. He's built that club from a first division team to now a continental giant among the 4 best in the confederation.
And Bafana Bafana players there as well.
And that's remarkable, because also when you look at the three teams in South Africa, it's the top 3 teams from the league. It's the teams that make up the bulk of Bafana Bafana team.
100%.
So that shows where South African football is at. I mean, in this week alone, under-17s are going to the World Cup. Banyana was saying goodbye to the veterans of Mpumi and Noko to bring in the new blood that's going to go to Morocco to defend the women's AFCON. It's a great moment for South African football, and we should not let this slip. We need to build on this and ensure that this becomes a regular thing.
Yeah, just to add here on the coach, success could not be happening to a much nicer guy. I mean, I remember back in the day covering him at the Air Force there.
Yeah, the Air Force. Why are you so chalapa?
Yes, and his stripe. And it's a thorough, true South African football man. And you can't help but be happy for him, because he has done some wonders with the club.
Most definitely a message to all the other South African teams, especially the so-called smaller teams, that you can be at this space. And if you look at the investment that they are also making, close to 400 million rands, it tells you that this is a club that has got a bigger vision going forward.
Very soon, I mean, Stellenbosch is going to be in a major continental final soon, because if this is your first experience, and just imagine where they would be if they could even keep some of their talent, and it shows how the vision of the club is the cornerstone of their success. This is in a season where they lost their captain, who's the longest serving player in the club, their all-time top goal scorer, one of their key players in midfield, who had all started this journey, and they've replaced but continued to be strong. And without necessarily breaking the bank, because that shows with proper planning and dedication, anyone can do that. I mean, you look at the team, the Amazulu team that went to the group stage, that's where also there was a bit of planning and there was some form of structure. So this is something that all South African teams should see as an inspiration that they can do. it should be standard
Correct.
for South African teams to have 4 teams in the knockout stages.
Yeah, but as we conclude, I don't think there's a better way of showcasing how healthy the ecosystem of the game, especially on the professional side. We don't want to really delve into other issues, but how healthy is that ecosystem when the technical side, we continue to produce top coaches who go and make an impact elsewhere on the continent, because the Stellies will be up against Fadlu Davids, a man who's been here where we are standing in this dugout and even in this dugout ensured that this team even played in the CAF Confed Cup final, and right now he becomes the first coach from outside Tanzania, in fact even outside or even inside Tanzania, to take a Tanzanian team to a CAF Inter-Club semi-finals.
Yeah, you must remember we also have got Benny McCarthy in Kenya, so we keep on churning them out. It shows, as the coach of Pirates said now in the post-match press conference, that this league is very strong. We may be having challenges here and there with certain clubs not being done properly, but it's a strong league. We produce players, maybe not as much as we would love to see players going to Europe, but in terms of coaching, we keep on producing coaches that leave the country, go to other countries on the continent to make their mark there. So yeah, it's very important. As we laugh, it's because the stadium minister says he wants to switch off the lights.
Switch off the lights. We're finishing now, Mr. Petty. We're finishing now,
Yeah, you know, so it augurs well for the country, and I think going not, I mean, in the not so distant future, one of these guys who are doing well on the continent will come back and be the Bafana Bafana coach. And you know, South Africans, we tend to frown upon foreign coaches, but the guy now, Hugo Bruce, has done very well. But I just foresee a situation now by going forward, we should have a South African coach coaching Bafana Bafana.
A great moment indeed, because we've had Pitso Mosimane going this route before. We have Morena going to AFCON, and now Fadlu will be up against and especially for Fadlu, because he also comes from Cape Town. Yeah. You know, it's fitting that he will be playing a CAF Confed semi-final in Cape Town.
It shows what you can achieve with an open mindset. Because for the longest time, South Africa has been very insular and thinking there's nothing beyond the Limpopo River. And that once we started that, because there are many coaches, like even the coach like Shakes Mashaba, who started venturing outside and challenging them.
Even Trot went to Tanzania back in the day.
And when you look at that, I think because there are only so much jobs that you can get in the country. It's 16 teams, and I think this thing of people stepping out of their comfort zone, going out to learn and grow, is also going to grow the league, because they're going to come back. Because for the longest time, we keep recycling the same people, and some of them with outdated approaches, because they've been filtering in the same spaces. But the Fadlu that was here and the Fadlu that's going to come back after his experience in Tanzania is a completely different person 100%. And completely different coach who would only take our game forward. And I think this should be also us making sure that we have higher standards in terms of which coaches we hire, because that 100%. Is also what is going to grow the game. And we've had clubs for a long time fighting this push for Baisafa to want a certain level of qualification to sit in the dugout. This success shows why that has to be imperative, and clubs must run with that.
Gents, I think that's it. For now, Betty is coming back. So, you know, our borrowed time, but I think there's no better place, because this is the last. This is not the last stadium to host the Champions League final. The last one was Lucas Moreira, but 2013 against Al Ali. Abu Trika scored a free kick there. I think those dreams are coming back again.
All South African final.
All South African final, eh?
Yeah. We can only dream.
What I was saying, City, Jumbo Africa. Well, we're back live. Hey, I'm fighting fires here. I'm fighting fires here, and on my far right, in that right corner, coming from the right wing. What position did you use to play as a footballer? If you ever played.
I think at the age of 14, I didn't want to waste people's time. I was very clear. I started coaching already at 14. And I knew exactly that, no. That was never really my talent.
We welcome Sinesipho Bafana Bafana, performance analyst, and also the head of performance analysis and also scouting at Sekhukhune United.
Daveja, if I may just
thanks to the club for granting us.
Daveja, if I may just add, I want to finish this guy also. How do you feel when you see this guy?
No, I feel
You're
great.
Nigerian, right?
Half Nigeria, half South
I'm
Africa.
reminding you of AFCON. When you see him, what goes into your mind?
No, I mean, he has done a good job in terms of, he analyzed the Nigerian team, but they never beat
weak
us.
Nigerian.
We won.
The weak one.
We later, no, there's no weak Nigeria.
Weak,
When did South Africa beat Nigeria last? He did a good job for them for we to play 1-1.
You know what?
No, for we to go to penalty. He did
South
a good
Africa
job.
doesn't have to beat Nigeria to go to US next year.
Wait, I want him to continue.
That's a different.
In the words of Sir Jingles.
Yeah, that's a different one.
Craig,
World Cup is a different.
Craig,
Yeah, okay.
I want you to continue. Still here.
No, he's a top analyst guy. He did the job very well. That's why you have the opportunity. No, not now. We're talking about the last tournament.
Okay, continue.
This one is a different story. Yeah. The last one we went to penalty, we won in penalty. He did a good job, and now he's still doing a good job. Yeah. That's why we're not
where
in the
we
bottom.
sitting? Where we
no,
sitting?
we're on the fourth.
No,
top.
We are top.
But we're taking 3 points.
Wait,
There's 3 points.
Wait. Where are we sitting?
On the top.
Yeah,
number 1.
yeah?
No,
We take the 3 points away, we're still number 1.
Yeah. No, with the 3 points, you're still number 1, but we are going to play against you guys.
Oh!
So we still have a game to play against
You are coming here.
Yeah, it's at home. Joburg, it's at home. Everywhere is home for Nigeria. Actually, we are playing home. We prefer, if you see Nigerian stats, we prefer playing away than to play home. Most of the game we lost is at home or drew at home. We play away, we win games. So coming to South Africa and playing in Joburg, it's crazy, man.
Okay. So let's continue with our discussion.
Yeah.
And I think, Sinesipho, you were listening to us, our discussion here. But I want us to move out of this Rulani discussion now. But based on what I've seen, and also if you look at the description of why Wydad went for Rulani, they wanted the brand of football that he was playing at Sundowns. But how difficult was it always going to be? Because if you look at some of the goals that they were considering, yes, playing expansive football, trying to build from the back, but you could see some of the players, especially the North Africans, were not really comfortable in that brand of football.
Yeah, 100%. And I think also building a team takes so much, especially to build higher teams where the expectations are high and performance must always be no negotiations. And I think it's done exceptionally well, considering where the team comes from and to where the team is. And I think I've had the privilege to really tap into exactly their recruitment process in terms of, firstly, there was no structure at all in terms of the recruitment. And obviously he comes in, he's got a specific way of how he wants to play, and that then informs the whole process in terms of the type of players that he has. So the first reference is to always look at how were they playing before. So then you have a bit of an idea of the profile of the players that they've had before. They've never really been a possession-based team. We all know how they played. Very direct, very physical team. So then it's a big transition when you bring a coach like Rulani, who then wants to move the team completely to a different style of play altogether, to be more possession-based, to dominate matches. And then it talks to the profile of the players. I think they've made more than 15 new signings altogether. So you can tell that it's a team that is obviously changing in the transition phase. And obviously when you bring in new players, because football is a game of communication, and communication must always be of the highest order. So that means aspects such as chemistry and cohesion must be there, and it takes time to build them. And while you are building those aspects, you're expected to win matches. Unfortunately, clubs of that profile and magnitude, you are expected to win. So you have to find a way to win matches. Nevertheless, while in the background, you are finding a way to get the team to play in your style of play. But he's a coach with a very clear identity of how he wants to play, and he'll never compromise how he wants to play. Hence, then it's a big transition for the club to move from where they were to be able to accommodate, or to be able to be at the level that he expects. And also, it's not just the recruitment aspect, it's also a whole lot of other things that they've had to introduce at the club. They've also had to introduce, they improve the sports science department, they've had to improve the goalkeeping, bringing a different goalkeeper coach, the analysis department, and all these components. This is exactly what then makes a team to be.
Okay, how important now is the derby, Raja and Wydad, and we've just spoken about it now. There's a 6-point difference between the two teams, and also for Wydad, a win, because the difference between them and Farabat is just 2 points to finish in that second spot. How important is for Rulani to win this weekend and at least win the trust back of the club?
I think first of all, where it starts, it emanates from the players. Are the players willing to fight for him for the investment that is put on those players? To how he's developed them and how he's actually progressed them and make them understand things that they were foreign to. As we just spoke about now in terms of how they play, their style of play and how it has changed. So the result will help Rulani to have a continuation to then now always try and manufacture those players and get them to the level now as he doesn't compromise to play into the style that they have. Yes, budget constraint might be the issue because you're looking at the players that are there and also looking at the understanding.
Sure.
Those players are highly technical than our players
Kevin.
are.
The weekend derby game is very important. Forget about the
This
game.
But to find a way to win the big game.
You've made your point, but I said
He has to win. He has to win this weekend. It's very important. How he wins doesn't matter. Just to get the trust back with the fans, with, as Kevin said now, with the players, to buy into his philosophy. But he needs to change something to win because he haven't won for a very long time. Winning this derby, is going to be very, very important for him.
100%. I think Rulani is experienced enough. I think he's wise enough. He knows exactly what to do. I liked his comment from one of these interviews that he's been in these situations a couple of times before. So I know tactically he'll approach the game the right way. But I know for sure he'll approach the game his way. And that is actually what make big coaches to be what they are. They go to the game and they want to win their way.
The Rulani talk is finito now. We move. AFCON U17, well, the group stages are done and dusted. We've seen teams going through qualifying to Qatar U17 World Cup. The expansion of the tournament now to 48 teams. I know if we were not going to make this AFCON, I was like,
Sure.
And one of the reasons Sinesipho is here is because he was part of the last AFCON. They didn't qualify for the World Cup. But you know what he said to me? He said, but if this qualification process was there, then we would have qualified.
True.
But when you look at the teams that have made the last 8, Morocco, Zambia from Group A, Burkina Faso and Amajimbos from Group B, Tunisia and Senegal from Group C, and Group D, Cote d'Ivoire and Mali. And I want us to talk about this because we were discussing that game yesterday. When you look at these teams, is it a true reflection from this tournament?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, these are teams that, in terms of international football, they'll always be there in terms of standard, and like rightfully so. In 2023, I feel hard done because if with the same format and the way to qualify, then we would have also qualified for the World Cup.
True.
But of course, the important thing with the type of teams that have gone to the World Cup is to know that we are going to be competitive in the World Cup. Senegal have really proven it over and over in terms of the quality of players that they bring. And I can tell you, actually, when I analyze what is happening in West Africa and what is really helping them to be able to be competitive at an international level and to produce players for the highest level, is because of they've been a source of talent for top clubs in Europe. So what has hazardly happened, they've attracted interest of top clubs in terms of scouting point. So what has happened is that clubs are now are going to Senegal, are going to Ivory Coast, are going to Mali, are going to Nigeria to have those as satellites to Europe. So that also there's lots of exchange programs that are happening. So as a result, they benefit from having a very advanced training methods and very advanced ways in which that are really helping their national team to be a little bit step ahead. Because if you look at it in the past, those countries, some of them used to rely a lot on physicality. And I mean, if you analyze the Senegal team now that we also played, they had a blend of highly technical players, speed. They had an element of being possession-based as well, where they could really keep the ball. So you can tell already that there's serious investment behind.
From that game that we were watching, Mali and Ivory Coast. Ivory Coast take an early 3-0 lead. You think the game is done and dusted. I go take a shower and then...
You know, they nearly, you know, that game was one of the big games in that group, you know, and I was really enjoying the game, you know, 3-0 up, you think, okay, it's done and dusted. But, you know, the Malian team never give up attitude. They came back. They nearly won it. They nearly equalized to be 3-3 before Mali gets the fourth goal, you know, and before Ivory Coast got the fourth goal. So I just think that game was one of the, you know, good adverts in this tournament. You know, when you expand this tournament, you can see, you know, there's a lot of opportunity for other teams to be, the other countries to be seen in terms of how they play. And that was a good advert of football yesterday.
The last time South Africa played actually reached the World Cup was in 2015. The likes of Kanye Samayo, Riff Rosler, they were there with Lefinseki. And we beat Nigeria. We beat Nigeria in the semifinals. No, but we beat them at the AFCON. We beat them at the AFCON.
No, I know what I'm saying.
But when we got to Chile, Victor Osimhen, Chukwueze, they were flying here. You know, they were flying here. And you are also a product of that kind of a system. You even went to the Olympics. That's where Gavin spotted you at the Olympics. Tell me, and also Cote d'Ivoire, your neighbors. In West Africa, you guys seem to have a system at this level. What do you do differently?
I think, first of all, you know, you're coming from a club side back home. Maybe you're playing for Enugu Rangers or Lobby. I was playing for Lobby Stars when I went to the Olympic. You know, you always have that vision or ambition that you want to play in Europe. And you, from that under 17, under 20, under 23, you know that's the shopping window for you to really make your mark. And if you have a better luck in terms of the club side that can support you, you can grow from there. So you always try to give your best. And me going to the Olympic in Sydney, it was one eye-opener for me. You know, you stay in the village. You know, South Africa were there too because they play against Brazil. They play against, but they won 4-0. You know, there was love. Makati, I think Makati was there. A lot of stars came out from that under 23. So from there, you have to take majority in Nigeria. Tournaments like maybe under 17, under 20, you always have an eye of 6 or 7 players that can graduate to the under 20, to the under 23. That's how you feed the senior team. So, but as individual and your ambition, for you first of all, you want to get a contract overseas. And how do you get that is for you to perform in a tournament. You know, so I just feel, you know, in West Africa, you know, they always want to. That's a leeway for them to go out from any other thing in terms of, you know, to be a superstar.
Greg talks about how easy it is for players from West Africa to be spotted, and there are no bottlenecks there. I recall in 2017, we were with Amajita at the Under-20 World Cup, and some players had attracted offers from overseas, but our clubs were calling for telephone numbers in terms of offers, and that's how big the money that they wanted. But if you go back to this same 2015 tournament of Osimhen, you find that the Nigerian academies just released them and picked up the money later.
Let's just go back to Greg's era. We saw Perry McCarthy, Quentin Fortune, a lot of stars that actually moved to greener pastures.
At the time, yes.
Yes, at the time. What then now has changed?
And our league was not stronger financially back then.
Yes. So what then now has changed? People are getting clever in the wrong sense, whereby they want to benefit themselves instead of benefiting the country. Because the more we export players, it's like in business, the more export that you make, the more money that you make for your GDP. So now, when we want to keep our players for that long, what are we trying to say to them? Because those teams in Europe, they are trying to better us and also to improve our structure and improve our own national teams because of the highly technical performance stuff that they do that side. So the value that they will add into our country, it will benefit us. So if you look at that team, the same one, the Sydney one, the number of players that graduated to the first team and comparing to the one in 2017, we're supposed to be seeing a whole lot of players that have actually graduated to that. But where does it sit? It sits with people that do not want the progress of the national team and also for players to get greener pastures. Should we allow that like how the Western Africans do? Immediately, I remember I was with Emenike in Turkey when we went on trials at Ankara Gucu.
The great
The
striker.
first thing that he told me was, my man, all I wanted you to get out of Nigeria and make a better living because I know when I go back home, the type of person that I'm going to be.
As an ex-player, and so there is this comfort that as Usosibo, you are not like Emenike. Emenike will not go back to the NPFL.
Yes.
No,
and
no.
he will not get the money.
Yes. Yeah.
But when now you feel like, I can go back to home and I can get a club that can even pay me better than I'm getting here.
I think that's what is spoiling South Africans the most. Yes, as organized as our league is, but again, remember, where's your ceiling? Your ceiling should be above PSL for the better benefit of the continent. Right? So if your ceiling is only PSL, then you're aiming too low because you know here the only team that can pay you well will be the three teams. It will be Chiefs, Pirates, and Sundowns. Then what's next? If you have reached those teams or you've played for those teams, you're not going to get the same money if you go a little bit lower. So who's going to have an interest in you? So the next thing is move to Europe and then make a better living for yourself.
Sneh, Amajimbos, I look at them 4 points. In fact, when we picked up 4 points, even before the last game, I was like, knowing this tournament, 4 points is enough to take you through. And I think when you look there, I mean, with the missed penalty, the missed chances as well. And I think with these boys, yes, I feel that when the way I see Bafana Bafana playing, and the way there are elements, but also part of me was saying, these boys are not even professionals yet. They are still amateurs at under 17 level. You will see the under 20s going to play differently. But we're playing against Morocco, and South African teams don't usually struggle against Arab teams. But hold that thought. You were part of this project when it started with the TD, I think at under 15, Walter Steenbok, scouting himself. I think even the first group of players, he scouted them himself.
Yeah, we actually introduced the very first scouting department at SAFA immediately when we got into the office, and of course we worked together, and that was the one of the main objectives was to immediately, because the big problem we had with the previous under 20 team that I was part of again in September 2022, October 2022, sorry, when we failed to qualify for AFCON, is that if you look into the starting 11 alone, we had 7 players out of 11 that have never kicked the ball at the international level. So for the first time, they kick a ball at under 20 level. And already at the time, when we do their post-analysis, that was one of the big challenges, because the demands of international football is different to any other level. So we then had to come up with a strategy, and the TD's his mind around this, to come up with a plan to say, how do we eliminate this limitation? And to do that, we had to try and then introduce an under-15 national team to ensure that when the boys come into the under-17 national team, they have a bit of international experience. Hence, you see now the introduction of under-15 national team 2 years ago, and is the core of this team now, and these boys have been together for 2 years. They've got a minimum
and some are younger, because one thing people must not forget. This is an annual tournament now, this World Cup.
Yes, exactly. So some can still qualify again the following year. So this is important. This is a perfect case study for the country to say that it's a process. It's not an event. If you go to a tournament and you've got 7 out of 11 players that have never kicked international football before, it's a challenge. But if you go to a tournament, you've got players that have 7+ international matches under their belt. They are able to cope with the pressures that are required at international level.
Can we knock out Morocco right in their own backyard?
I think we can. I think definitely we can. This team is good. I know some of these kids at the age of 11. I don't want to go there. You know, So when I see them there and I smile, you know.
Who are you talking about?
One
are you
of
talking about?
One
Just
of the
be
most
specific.
important players
The striker.
Neo. I remember him as a young boy, in Nike Center in Soweto. And immediately I saw him and I said, this boy is going to be something else. And you can see how he's grown. At the age of 14, he scored his first TDC goal, already. So really, it makes me so proud. But again, going back to your question, can we beat Morocco? And this is a golden question. I think we can. How can we beat Morocco? We play with our strength. We've shown in this tournament that keeping the ball.
I saw Morocco struggling against Zambia.
Yeah, keeping the ball is our strength. But there's other aspects. If you analyze the Egypt game, the inability to deal with aerial balls into our box, crosses into our box, were a problem. If you look into the last game, again, when we are in possession, and when you are higher up the pitch, which space you're going to defend more? You're going to defend the spacing behind you a little bit more. So these are small elements that I know will fix. Defending across, dealing with the spacing behind. But again, our strength: keep the ball more, dribble, be courageous, take shots, and be effective in key moments like offensive transitions.
With the last game, I think they keep the ball. They overkeep the ball. Then sometimes you overkeep the ball. They need to shoot.
But
they need to shoot
this
for you to
overkeeping
score.
The ball, I don't agree.
Yeah,
because look at the game. They played against a team that.
No, but Sneh, I think I understand.
You have to shoot.
A player gets into the box. He's got options.
You need to finish the end product. You see, when you build from the back, you keep the ball possession. What are you doing? You want to score. When you get to the final third, I think for the last game,
and you've got options.
They need to shoot more because you can't. You can't have an opportunity to shoot and you want to pass in the box. You are a striker, you need to shoot. And the more you shoot on target, the more it's possible.
But I guess this is where it's
maturity,
the corrective
it's
measures.
Tactical maturity and to look to how do I affect the game. I always say to players, there's three ways to affect the game. Are you helping us to score goals? Are you helping us to create or to stop goals? So always in certain areas of the field, like I say, there's certain component in their game they need to add. The moment is they win the ball in good areas. Why the extra pass? You won the ball, the team that just lost possession is not immediately ready to defend. So always immediately look to punish them. But I trust this team. I trust this team. I trust Coach Vela's international experience. He's been there.
And by the way, contrary to what people are saying, Coach Vela is not qualifying for the first time to the Under-17 AFCON.
Yes.
During COVID, he qualified
but
with the group of Mdu,
Yes.
Shabalala and them, but that tournament was all cancelled, obviously, because of COVID. And if you look at the type of players he's also coached at the Kaizer Chiefs Juniors and the Puso Detergents and all of them, you look at Puso very well. And he was coming right from his hands, so you can see that you're dealing, and I think for me, and I don't know, you guys are the technicians, because I look at Coach Mlefi, a school teacher. I look at Coach Vela, a school teacher. At this Under-17 level, how important is it to have someone of that background?
It's key because he understands the players in terms of their mental state, their growth state, and also their limitations. So when you have those elements, they help you in terms of how you load the players in terms of information and how you prepare them, because you can't over-prepare. So the expectation would be reading and assessing the mind of these players. Where are they? Then you are able to feed into those into those channels.
And being a teacher, because you need to. That level is about teaching the game. It's about really teaching the fundamentals and the method to teach, being patient and knowing that they'll make mistakes, but persistently try to correct those mistakes. So the teaching element at that level is very, very key.
And the other two positions to complete the work.
I was looking at, and it was unfortunate because Angola.
I think I like that team.
Angola good team, but they're in a very tough group.
So,
but still Egypt is the strong team looking at how they beat Cameroon.
Yeah, but with Angola yesterday, I watched them yesterday, and the way the scoring goes and the way they shoot. You see, the Angolan game, you see they shoot a lot, they have that ability. And for me, I just feel like against Egypt, they will have an upper hand against Egypt. And Uganda against Gambia. The Gambian team is not a pushover. They're a very good team. They're a very, very good team.
But tell me, some of these countries, especially in West Africa, very good in under 17 and under 20, but these players just disappear in senior level.
Depends, depends on with Nigeria. I can give an example with Nigeria. Nigeria, there's always that, with the senior group, you can see them, Chizoke, they came from that tournament, like this tournament under 17 to under 20, the under 23, they were a little bit shaky there before you went to lead, become something else, So I just feel like, you grow with under 17, under 20 tournament to get exposure in terms of the club side you go to. You have a good youth. Ayla, it's a typical example. The one for Nottingham Forest. He was a Chelsea development. Now he's a big right back. He's not in the team last weekend, and I just say, he's a Nigerian right back. He was there. They lost for the first time in how many games? So, but he gives you that opportunity for you to get exposure, for you to be stronger in terms of international football. And when you come back to play, Morocco have a striker in the one from Chelsea, 15 years old, the striker, and it's one player that you can see he's doing very well, and you can see there's a difference.
That Moroccan team is 90% in Europe, but I can tell you, Zambia reduced them. It's like
Yeah, because the quarterfinals now, is going to be one-off game. The knockout stage is going to be one-off game. So anything can happen. That's why South Africa have big advantage against Morocco.
Yeah. I want to move from under 17. I still want to be on the under 17. And
it's his baby. Let's rock the baby.
Close the discussion on under 17, and then we'll say goodbye to you. But before you say goodbye to you, we must discuss Banyana Banyana, because you were there, the under 20 World, in fact, at the Women's World Cup with Matlou.
Really an amazing human being.
No. On the under 17.
Yes, want to close up on that one?
Because we are looking forward now to the last 8.
Yes.
And I feel that this tournament is evenly poised when I'm looking at it. There's no outright favorites.
Yeah, look, it's a very interesting competition, and
But there's the Burkina Faso boy, that top sober boy.
Yeah, if you look at the emerging talents, I mean, a lot of scouts that are my mates in Europe have been raving about different talent. Emil, of course, catching everyone's attention. And I'll always talk about South Africa. South Africa,
not Nigeria.
But it's a very interesting competition. But again, what we are seeing now happening in African football, which is really exciting. We are starting to see because I've luckily done the under 17 AFCON. There were still teams that relied heavily on the physicality, and maybe understandably they are less technical, so they want to stick to their strength. But then now you are seeing a balance all of a sudden, and again this balance is influenced by the type of development that these players are used to. That is why now you are seeing, for example, South Africa can be so dominant in matches, because the teams that are highly technical, less physical, so games are getting more possession based, which is very, very exciting, because that then says the direction in terms of African football is changing, and the trend, it means now it's more, it's also, there's a great balance between the technical aspect, technical aspect, and the physical aspect, which will give us a chance to be competitive at the World Cup stage.
Yeah, no, that's with the technocrats there. So we're coming back after this discussion, and we're wrapping up just on Banyana Banyana saying goodbye to two legends. But before we bring back Zozo, Sneh will give us his views as well. I was there last week, and you could see what this means to Mpumi Nyandeni, a stalwart of our game. I mean, I remember watching her a long time ago. Detroit ladies, all the way from Mpumalanga. That's where Greg is based these days. You guys are based in Jordan. You just go and play.
Yeah.
But someone like Mpumi playing 150 matches, but you are with Nuku, a legend of our game. And one thing that makes me happy, she's retiring, but she's not retiring playing there, lowly there. She's played her last game for Banyana, but she's going back to Spain.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, look, it's an amazing thing. That what that team has as a team collectively is amazing. I've never seen everywhere I've been. Maybe the current Bafana team is a little bit close in terms of togetherness, the love they have for each other, and the cohesion like that Banyana team has. And Noko is unbelievable. The way she does not have the loudest personality, but she's got a very interesting way to command herself inside the change room, and you know, the personality that she brings, the way she's humble, and the way she also loves analysis. You know, she's one of the players that was always wanting information in terms of helping her game to move. So really, she's had an amazing career, you know, and I really love what Banyana have done with their legends in this past window. That this really talks really about the family that team has under the leadership of Coach Des, who really also has shown that she's played the game. She knows the challenges,
and it's also good to see Coach Des bringing back Mbomi,
yes,
to be in the mix as well.
100%. Hence, I say that it just talks to the togetherness of that team, and then that it can take far. It can take them far, and I really want to also take that opportunity to wish them everything of the best, preparing for AFCON. I hope that they'll be able to take it a step further where we left it in New Zealand and go to the last stage of the
and we hope that SAFA will get them stronger opposition in the next international division, so that they can be thoroughly prepared for the AFCON to avoid what our under-17 almost went through. Fortunately, so you were listening. We're talking about Noko Matlou. We were in that presser last week where Coach Des was addressing the issue of the two players, saying their goodbyes to the team. You feel that this is the right time for Nuku? I mean, she's played a number of AFCON tournaments, 2 World Cups, 2 Olympics. I think she's done it all. And also a former Women's African Football of the Year.
An outstanding servant of women's football in our country. The one thing that I also like about her is that the younger ones may not know. She started off as a striker.
Exactly, exactly.
In a modern footballer, you need to be able to adjust. She reminds me of Patrick Mayo.
Oh, yes, yes. Then Ted Dimitro changes them to
to left back. Also left back.
Yes, yes.
You know, so yeah, I mean, it's very nice that she's been given the send-off that she's getting. Sometimes in the past we've made mistakes of not really honoring our standing sevens the right way. Kudos to sometimes we criticize SAFA, and when they've done well, we must say it. Yes. It is very good of them. Not only her, Bumi Yandeni, also another standing seven of women's football in the country. And I hope young players can look at those examples and really follow in those footsteps. To have played the number of matches that they've played, people don't know. I think Sine can attest, even though he's off camera. To play such number of matches, there's a lot of these are former players.
100%.
How many training sessions?
Yes.
You know, how many discipline, mental readiness, dealing with poor, coming back from poor performances, keeping your head high, doing the right things. It takes a lot of hard work and discipline to play more than 100 matches, and only for the national team. I'm not talking about club football.
Yeah. I mean, someone like Mbomi, as we come out of this, she was one of the first players to play in the UEFA Women's Champions League. And we don't have a lot of players in that space right now. And I think this duty also falls on you now, academy coaches. We must be intentional about the growth of women's football. Because right now, the way I see it, siyakhuluma nje ngayo, but we're not really intentional in South Africa about the growth of women's football.
Me, I'm preview, and such news touch me deeply. One, women's football is evolving, and the young females that we're having now are not running short of role models. that they need to look up to. The reason why I'm saying I'm touched deeply in this topic because I've coached Monash girls team.
The university?
Yes, the university. So I worked with them a lot. What I've really picked up with the women's football is that they learn faster than the guys. I remember there's some point when I came to Monash 2014 where those girls couldn't even kick a ball. They were all academics and they just registered them. We wanted to play into the Varsity Cup. So when we got in there, the first thing that I started with was to save the girls from emotional damage. Let us start working with the defense first. If you don't concede a lot, you can always score. We can get one. Tell you what, we played at Mill Park, we played against Wits.
That's why you're a top coach. That's your duty. As a coach, you need to improve players. So what are you supposed to do there?
Yeah.
You're supposed to improve the players.
I know this is not a topic you can delve into deeply, but there's one thing that impressed me this week is to see how TS Galaxy, when I talk about intentional, was advertising, pushing that they are returning. You know, they are even on TV. And for me, when I see a top flight team driving women's football, like TS Galaxy is doing now, like we've seen with all their troubles, Royal AM, Sundowns have been leading that. And I think for me, that is very important. Yeah. But I want us to move to the next discussion. I know you are footballers, you're not politicians. The issue around Football Association of Zambia, as you know, the issue of Zambia, there were supposed to be elections there. So can you take us through what has been happening there? Because we have a very interesting interview with one of the senior journalists in Zambia, Kalumiana Kalumiana. But just briefly on this matter.
Yeah, I think one of the key things is that sanity needs to prevail in Zambia because the last thing they need is if FIFA strong arm them and ban. I think there's been a perceived interference from government, the disputed elections that have just happened in the country, and it's not good. Players tend to worry about these kinds of things. We're in the middle of qualifiers now. A lot of national teams are busy preparing for this or the other. So I think leadership needs to really nip this in the bud and make sure that it doesn't spill over, because if it does, it's going to be a problem. But also I know, Virila, I know you are presenting here, but you also have got some strong views as to what is happening there, because just as me, you have been following the story.
Yeah, in fact, a few weeks ago, this is what FIFA had to say, because the elections were supposed to take place on the last weekend of last month, but there are some worrying factions. But I feel that we need to hear from Zambians, because sometimes what we do, we talk a lot about situations. You know, let's get the situation from Zambia. We've played the clips of the FAZ president here, Andrew Kamanga, but this is what FIFA had to say. Here on the African Football Connect, we are connecting with a veteran football journalist from Zambia in the Copper Belt, coming from the town of Gateway. I know him for covering a number of big games, but I see that these days he seems to be just enjoying going slowly. But I think recently when I watched the Livingstone, a press conference of FAZ, and also there was a FIFA also there in the same space. I also recognized your voice, King K, Mr. Kalumiana Kalumiana here. King K, I think what most people would like to know is in terms of what is really happening here around the country, in Zambia, especially when it comes to FAZ. We've been hearing a lot of stories right here on this platform. We also had an interview with Mr. Andrew Kamanga himself. But from a Zambian perspective, especially someone who's also has spent a lot of time covering this game for some time now in Zambia, what are the issues there?
Well, as things stand right now, we have reached an impasse with the elected FAZ annual general meeting that was supposed to be held on the on February 29th at Livingston. The reasons for the postponement or the adjournment are because there was an injunction by a FAZ member over the holding of the meeting on March 28th. There's been back and forth issues regarding the build-up to the elections, the validity of councillors, and all that. It's a complex mess with that's unnecessary. There are candidates who feel they've been defranchised. It's hard to, it's hard to, it's a riddle in a haystack.
What are the, because I think the last time I checked, there was an issue about a Congress that was postponed. And then there was an issue of roadmap coming from FIFA as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What happened was the last year we had a similar issue. There was another injunction for the non-elective AGM in April because there was an issue with Kamanga and the first president who was alleged to have embezzled money or laundered money, but that was sorted out. And the same people who placed an injunction on that are back again this time from Damiano Academy, placing another injunction on the holding of this AGM. There seemed to be a third force involved. I cannot say who, but what happened was, let's start from February. Election nominations happened. Kamanga was the sole candidate. 9 other people were removed from the ballot. They appealed. 4 came back. Elections were set to take place after they won their appeals process. But again, then we have the case of the National Sports Council that also claimed that Kamanga and his administration's mandate ended on February 28th. But FIFA has insisted that their mandate continues up to the election date of March 29th, when the elections will take place. So there was a bit of back and forth, and then all of a sudden, everyone agreed that we're going to the Congress. Everyone arrives in Livingston on the 28th. 17 hours, people are checking in. 17:30. Everyone thinks that it's happening. 18 hours, we just get news that the Congress has been postponed because of an injunction from a member of a certain club called Damiano Academy, who I've explained also at the 2024 AGM. I mean, before the 2024 AGM, also had to place another injunction on that particular AGM that didn't take place because of the legal problems again that engulfed first President Kamanga. Saturday morning, we had a press briefing with the FIFA delegation. They expressed their frustrations with the way things were going on, to back and forth for the last 1 year. They made subtle reference to the 2024 election, that this had happened, something similar had happened, and now it's happening at another point where we should be focusing on football. The under-17 national team is in Morocco, but now we find ourselves at a point of another third-party interference, because they can't understand how and why, after the entire process has gone through, all of a sudden we get to Livingstone, someone places an injunction, and it's placed in a court. So they FIFA regards that as a third-party interference. And I won't say they're fed up, but they didn't use the word fed up, but they said, we have seen enough from last year to now. So we're just going to submit our report to Zurich, and then we'll get back to you. In the afternoon on Saturday, the minister calls a meeting with the press, stating that the whole issue is going to be resolved. By late afternoon, on a Saturday, the judge was called, the injunction was lifted, and it says they spoke to the FIFA gentlemen who had come and had resolved everything. But on Monday, after everyone had come back, the first president says, we are now just waiting for FIFA's final word on the postponement of the election, and that's where things are now. So it's basically a wait and see situation from FAZ's side. From the government side, with the meeting they held of Saturday, March 29, it was agreed with them that they were going to hold the AGM on April 20th. But that's not what that April 20th. But
so who did they agree with?
FAZ, well, they said they had agreed with FAZ, but from indications, and First President Andrew Kamanga does not seem to agree with that, with those deliberations, because he wasn't in attendance, I believe. So, and April 20th is the Easter weekend, so we're wondering, how can an AGM actually happen during a long holiday? So who's going to turn up for that? So we have two different statements on one frequency. Who's telling the truth, or which direction are we taking? But I think for now we follow the wait and see message from the first president from a message from FIFA on the future of the AGM.
Mm-hmm. How's the relationship between the government and FAZ?
It's I think it's like any other relationship. They have their differences, but at the end of the day, when there's international assignment, they all come together and put their resources, and things happen. As you are aware, the under-17, is away in Morocco for the AFCON under-17. The women's team has just come back from China, so they put their resources together. There's I think, like in a family, there are disagreements, but at the end of the day, they work something out. That's how diplomatic I can put it.
Mm-hmm. You seem to have hope that they will find each other again.
Yes, they will. They have no choice. As you know, we've qualified for how many African tournaments this year? 5?
Yes.
We have the under-17 who are in Morocco. We have the under-20s who are supposed to go for AFCON under-20. We've got the women's who are going to AFCON. We've got CHAN in August.
CHAN, yeah.
December,
and you've qualified for all these tournaments.
December, yes, it's unprecedented. It's unprecedented. Zambian history, to have almost all the age groups qualifying for a tournament in a non-Olympic year, of course. So it's a FIFA ban will not all go well with the government, with the election over the horizon. And Zambians are passionate about football, and you never know. So they have to find a fix to this, because football unites Zambians. These are harsh economic times, and with football, there's an escapism from the everyday reality of life.
Because also there have been more like indications, maybe could it be the differences? Maybe there are other new candidates that the government maybe feels that they should emerge, because when you look from a distance, they don't just come up with these things, and you'll find that maybe there's a certain candidate that they are backing.
You have a point there. Yes, there is talk that they are the preferred candidates on the ballot box. And this is a common theme now across Africa and African football. There's a blurring between mainstream politics and football politics. There is speculation that yes, there are candidates who are preferred by the government, and there are some clubs that have been told to vote for this candidate. I've heard those rumors and all that speculation. So it's happening. It happens, and that's the football landscape we live in right now.
But Zizo, what I'm sensing also is that if things don't go well, I'm sensing that the other side is trying to push for a normalization committee. But when it's a normalization committee, it also means that Zambia is at the under-17 AFCON now, and they're doing very well. They are at the under-20, and even there they'll do well. I can tell you. I can tell you about that. Chipolopolo is slightly coming back. They are at the AFCON. It will be a sad day to see Zambia being kicked out of international football.
That is going to be very sad with the talents, coming out from Zambia. Don't forget again, they have the champions of AFCON. The same story. I don't know why it's happening to African country. In Nigeria too, we have the same scenario. Almost get banned in terms of interference. I think this thing needs to be stopped, because it can't be continuing if it's not Zambia today, it's Nigeria, it's Sierra Leone, so.
In fact, if you can check there now, we put up something on the page in Sierra Leone. There's something happening there. In Guinea-Conakry, apparently they are trying to change an FA president who was just elected recently.
So I just think that, if there's not going to be interference, if things need to be, they have to stop. They have to accept the result, which is very important. You can't come with other things, want your own camp to be, so there's a lot of things going behind the scene. We know FIFA, they're very interested in this scenario, the Zambian election. So, but yeah, I just feel like, everything should be settled because of the players.
Okay, so
I wanted to add to say, look at these things, look at the damage they did to Zimbabwe not so long ago when they were banned by FIFA. Players missed out on opportunities to represent their country, and sometimes after the ban, it takes a while for the team to pick up again. Really, that's the country that you've just mentioned now. I hope they get your house in order, because when the suits are fighting there in their nice, beautiful suits, who is suffering? Other players.
And sometimes we don't know.
I keep on saying this because people do things and they forget about the football.
Yeah,
exactly.
David, that's my painful concern on this one, is that people are on suit. They can go to 65. Our careers are so short. So they need to understand they're fighting a different battle than what we are fighting.
And are these fights genuine, or they are all about the per diems? Who is going to be the HOD? Who's going to fly business class?
Going to FIFA, all those kind of things.
And this is the third story.
And then the custodian of the game,
because even if you check some of these national teams, youth national teams, yes, they are succeeding, but they are succeeding in spite of the support from this.
Now, if support was proper, can you imagine what African teams can do?
True.
Thank you. Well, you can see it was a full house today. It was a full house. I can tell you, the two of them. The Premier Soccer League doesn't allow them to even have a small window of being involved in betting.
Not even.
I know. Is there in the rules that the players and the coaches, you cannot? PSL, you cannot.
Yes. So chances of that happening here are always nothing. But I don't know about NFT. I don't know about NFT. I went to some NFT match. Even some of the people I was in there, I don't expect you to say anything.
Yeah, keep it mute, guys. Hey, we are talking, guys.
Yeah,
we are talking.
Yeah, otherwise it's been good, gents. Thanks so much also to the debutant. We hope the under-20 squad is going to be announced this week. Yes, I'm told.
So he must be back.
Yes. So you must come back. Nigeria is there. You are in our group.
No, we're gonna we sort it out. If we can't sort it at the top, we sort it there at the 20.
Under 20.
We make so we.
Are they going to go past Mbogazi?
Let's wait. We're getting some players, exciting players from Europe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Prediction. Nedbank Cup this week. Who's in the final? There's Pirates, Gallants, Sundowns Chiefs. Who's in the final?
I would love a Pirates Sundowns final.
I would say the same.
So, chances of Calabash, Soweto Derby,
We got injuries there. So let us not raise our hopes, guys.
Okay. On that note, we say, Jambo
Africa.